Hello, welcome to the Trews. I'm your host, Russell Brand. Subscribe here to receive the Trews directly beamed into your consciousness. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. I'm here with Daniel Pinchbeck. Daniel Pinchbeck I often refer to as a shaman, a pioneer of consciousness, a living version of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Thanks for coming, Daniel. Daniel, we've known each other for a while and you've provided me with all sorts of information about alternative ways of thinking, alternative social system, alternative economic ideas. Where are you getting all this information? What's your qualifications? What should I even refer to you as?
I don't have any particular qualifications. I was a college dropout and then I just started writing books and doing journalism and kind of learned what I had to learn. You're
quite known for your film 2012, which was a film about, remember just before 2012, it was like, oh no, it's the end of the Mayan calendar, we're all going to die. The Mayans wouldn't let a calendar run out.
It's just that initial resistance to change. That's how we progress. We put ourselves out of the comfort zone.
This question of what will happen in 2012 may just be the wrong question, and we should just be asking what type of change can we bring about in this time.
And then you made a film that I saw there where you talked about alternative energy, alternative social system.
Yeah, so there was all this idea that the 2012 deadline was some kind of apocalypse thing, but we were seeing it more as an opportunity for humanity to reach another kind of level of awakening and begin to do the things that we know now. It's even more obvious that we have to do if we want to continue, like shift to renewable energies, create alternative economic systems, create more community-based ways of life,
The main function of the Trews, True News, is to provide true information. Now, we never hear about, for example, renewable energies. Can you tell us a bit in a way that people can understand what should we know about renewable energies that we won't hear through conventional media like Fox News, BBC, and why won't we hear it?
Well, there's certainly more and more information about it. I mean, the fact is, the first thing that we're not really paying attention to is that we are in such a deep ecological crisis that it could almost be an extinction level event for humanity and most complex forms of life on Earth.
Why are we lying on a white bed in New York City when we're facing possible extinction? Why are we doing that? Why won't we take it seriously? Even me that's talking about it now to you, why am I still not really
I thought we were taking a page from the John and Yoko Bedding for Peace. We're just going to sit here until it all works out.
We're just going to stay here till there's peace, man. What's so strange about that? We're just peace-loving men. We've got to be Yoko now, which is going to make you risk racism.
That's not going to work so well.
After this, we should get into bed, shall we? Till peace comes. We're staying here till peace comes. Why don't we take this climate change seriously? What is it?
Well, I think that because our belief system is basically materialistic, the mainstream belief system, it's very hard for people to even envision an end to the current system. They're so locked into it. The media indoctrinates them, the education system. They're locked into a certain set of beliefs, and those beliefs are soon not going to be able to hold water anymore.
But I'm part of that. I'm part of them. I'm from an ordinary sort of family. I kind of am been in films and work in media and all of that kind of stuff. And what do you mean we can't envisage things being different? When you say non-material, what are you even talking about? Is this to do with shamanism and drugs and ayahuasca and things? What the hell are you talking about, Daniel? Help me to understand.
Yeah, well, I mean, most people think that the best you can do is lead a highly comfortable, materialistically advanced lifestyle, and that they see technology improving life in some ways, which is true. It's also making life more complicated and so on. But the problem is that the whole system in itself is more and more obviously a suicide system, because now we've learned that even on the conservative scientific projections, we'll have 4 to 6 Celsius temperature warmer climate by 2100. And those may have totally neglected this methane under the Arctic, which if that starts to get released in large quantities would be another 4 to 6 Celsius temperature or more. And they've learned that in previous epochs of mass extinction, like 250 million years ago, 95% of all life on Earth went extinct when this methane started to erupt.
I see.
So we actually only have like a few decades perhaps to stop what we're doing, have a kind of a mass awakening,
right,
that we don't have to continue in this way, and then to shift to like renewable energies, alternative networks of exchange and so on.
It's like we're inducing the conditions that bring about apocalypse and we're not looking at any alternatives, even though alternatives are available. Now, I heard recently, I don't know where or how or why, that it's possible to that we could transfer to renewable energies in 15 years. Is that possible? Like renewable energies, does that mean wind, water, solar?
Yeah, solar, wind. I mean, and those like, for instance, solar is becoming more and more advanced, more and more available. You can actually like probably print solar panels now on 3D printers. I mean, there is an evolution of technology. I don't think we're like in a Luddite perspective, like let's use the technology that we have, which is awesome, to make this rapid transition. But the focus of kind of the human collective has to be on breaking through. I mean, it might be for a while that people have to carpool. Not everybody has to have their own car. Maybe nobody does.
What?
It might be that people should restrict air flight for a while.
What? So right, because like me, I'm a person.
So we don't have any idea of personal sacrifice anymore. Really going back to like the Second World War or something. So they did, all right, maybe there's a collective goal that's more important.
But Daniel, wouldn't a great deal be achieved simply by shackling, stymieing, and regulating huge corporations before normal people like me had to start carpooling and not getting flights? That is it us ordinary folk who have got to start making sacrifices? Because I was really enjoying the idea that we were just going to smash it to Exxon and Monsanto and Pfizer and all that, and I was just going to basically be able to carry on as normal. But now I'm going to have to share cars, am I?
Well, I think it's all of the above.
God, yes, definitely smash corporations.
Have to stop the corporate juggernaut, and somehow. Yeah, I mean, and there's a kind of level of insanity because these people must have all the same information that we're getting, yet they think they're just going to keep going on with this momentum.
It's really weird, isn't it? Right, Daniel, so just in terms of the order of things, can we stop the corporate juggernaut just by protesting, refusing to participate, disobeying, and then do the carpooling, or have we got to start the carpooling simultaneously?
It's a great question. Once again, the question is how, because I think the problem is that people feel their individual actions are not that important.
Right.
So I think we need some type of social movement or social technologies where people are meshed together. Like, okay, if we all do this together, if like 10 million of us, stop using plastic bags, like that suddenly has a significant environmental impact. Or if 10 million of us become vegetarian, that's significant. You can see the numbers in terms of what that means in terms of saving the Amazon, saving CO2 and so on. So somehow we need to use our social technologies to aggregate large numbers of people towards positive social goals.
Okay, so each of us individually has to do something. Like me, I've got to start doing some carpooling, and I've got to become even more vegetarian until I'm actually vegan. And then but as well as that, we have to be aware of the broader problem. Because my understanding is if there were, what I sort of believe, perhaps naively, is if there was a philosophical change that led to economic change, i.e. that we confronted corporations, regulated their power, and prevented their continuing tyranny, that in itself would make a difference on a broad global scale. But that, you're saying, won't be insufficient unless I also make an individual change, which is much harder because it involves more than just talking. It involves action from me having to carpool, me having to get less flights, me having to not use plastic bags.
We're all in this together. It's the big problem.
So we all need to do it. Okay, well that's brilliant. Now Buckminster Fuller, who is a person we'd like to learn a bit more about, I'm moved into a more and more sexualised position. The interview's gone on. Look at my body language now. Firstly, you look gorgeous. Now, Buckminster Fuller, he said this thing: to make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest time possible through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offence or the disadvantage of anyone. I really like that. It's like a haiku of what we need to do, because when I read that, it makes me realise, there's loads of systems that we have in place that are to the disadvantage of loads of people that cause ecological offence simply because they make a lot of money for a few people, the 65 people that have as much wealth as the 50% of the people on the planet that are poorest.
People on the bus, in the gilded bus.
Terrible business. So this paradigm here, or this little haiku of common sense.
What he recognized in the 60s was that we actually had enough resources so that everybody on Earth could have a decent standard of living and potentially free access to knowledge and creative resources, which now through the internet could be totally available, right? But we don't have enough resources to have people amassing vast wealth at the expense of everybody else. I mean, that's not going to be sustainable. And
also, perhaps, from my own personal experience, pursuing fame and celebrity and money and all that, it was really exciting for a while, and I enjoyed it for a while. And I still, I'm talking to you from a relatively fancy hotel in New York City, so it's not like I sleep on the street now or live in an ashram or a yurt. I'm still me, but those things haven't been that fulfilling. So perhaps these new communal values that you're espousing will actually be more spiritually fulfilling. And by spiritually, I just mean how you'll feel in your tummy will be better. Now, talk to me a bit about decentralized autonomous communities, Bill. Or did you want to say something about spirituality?
No. That also represents kind of somehow you, maybe because of the depth of your own quest and curiosity, made that leap. I don't know if somebody like Paris Hilton or even Alexa Chung is feeling the same thing. Maybe they still think the partying and all that stuff is a great idea.
I read an interesting thing by a Christian mystic called Emmett Fox the other day. You should check out his book, Sermon on the Mount, where he says that he analyses Christ's Sermon on the Mount and Beatitudes, specifically in the bit that I'm reading. And he says, of the bit where it says, don't judge others, he says that regardless of another person's behaviour, the Christ within them is calling out to you who are awake, to help them. And I suppose another way of saying that is that whoever a person is, within them there is divinity, within them there is beauty, even like the people that you've mentioned or whatever. And it's like that we have an opportunity and in a way a responsibility to deal with people as if they are divine, knowing that within them ultimately there is a divinity, and that will help to elevate us, it will help to elevate them. What do you think about that?
100% agree.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, how do we build communities around those values? Talk to me about decentralised autonomous communities and how they could work and what the hell that means.
Decentralized autonomous communities. Well, I guess that's anarchism in a way. The question is, could we make a shift? Like, we've had this whole model of like centralized, authoritarian, hierarchical control systems.
Is that capitalism and communism?
Corporations, the military, the president, the Pope and all that stuff.
All the powers in one place,
yeah,
concentrated.
The power is centralized. So the alternative would be somehow, decentralized, cooperative ownership of resources and decentralized decision making, so that everybody actually had like a legitimate voice. And then the question is, maybe once again, if we think about the internet, could that provide a platform for everybody to have a voice, for everybody to have a share in the economic wealth and so on, and I think there's some good reasons to think that it could.
It certainly could, couldn't it? I mean, the technology exists for us to communicate on an international level, on an intimate level, and for us to vote on shows like X Factor and American Idol. So in a way, the utensils, as you've often said, for a different type of democracy already exist, but currently not the will, even though we're facing the point when necessity does, because surely if enough people are informed, we won't vote to destroy the planet. I've heard it said that we have at this point the choice of whether to ditch capitalism and save the planet, or save the planet and ditch capitalism. And obviously people that are benefiting from capitalism, they think, well, ditch the planet, which is a crazy choice to make on our behalf.
I really wonder, have you spoken to people who are convinced of that anymore? I feel that they're beginning to get a little shaky in their conviction.
Call the people that want to ditch the planet.
Yeah, it's not looking like such a good role anymore.
Because where would we live? That's my worry. If we get rid of the planet, I don't know anywhere that isn't it. Like, think of it, you go, all right, Tokyo, that's on the planet. Okay, Benidorm, that's on the planet. The Ewok forest, that isn't real. Have you ever seen an Ewok anywhere outside of Star Wars? Return of the Jedi, that is part of it. In fact, they weren't even in the original Star Wars.
Well, I guess they're the underground cities that the reptilian overlords constructed.
Now, these reptilian overlords, Dan, if there are them, why haven't they seen me and my obvious ability to communicate a complicated message to a mass media market? Why haven't they gone, get Russell Brand to the Illuminati. He's a great guy. He's got 33 tattooed on him already. He's one of us. Why? Do you believe in shadowy cabals that lurk behind the facade of conventional society that govern us?
I think there's other occult levels of existence.
Are there, mate?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Why do you think that? Because of taking all that ayahuasca?
Yeah, exactly. If you get into the whole shamanism thing, you recognize that. But in a way, they're all kind of projections of the psyche, right? Individually and collectively. Like this writer Paul Levy talks about this Native American idea of the Wetiko, which is this kind of energy that feeds on human consciousness. And in a way, it's like our ego, our shadow that gets projected and then reflected, and we kind of have to keep evolving to deal with our shadow projections.
I see. So, and Jung talked about a shadow self. So in a way, we're just talking about the idea that there's just more to reality than we perceive through the five senses, and that's not a complicated idea, really. The senses are limited.
There might be an infinite dimensions of worlds and universes that operate in different ways. We just don't know yet. Our knowledge is tiny.
We could be living in infinite dimensions. We've only got this one that we know about at the moment. Well, Daniel knows about other dimensions because he loafs about on drugs half his life, but I only can live in this dimension at the moment. So let's look after this dimension in case we can't just slip off into a new dimension. Is that a sensible place to start?
Yeah, and it might actually be, though, that the work you're doing with meditation and TM, the deepening of your psyche, your consciousness going inward, that's a sensible direction for the future of humanity, to learn more about everything that's within. And then maybe also, if we can get our act together on this planet, we could go and explore other worlds, other galaxies, build a nice Tokyo on Mars or Jupiter or something, who knows?
There are infinite possibilities for all of us. There is more to the world than we receive through our senses. We can organise communities differently. We can organise the world differently. We can love each other differently. Daniel and I are going to demonstrate that right now. This is the Trews, True News. There are different ways of looking at the world. Subscribe here, subscribe here. Should we get into bed, Dan?
Sure.
Why not? I'm going to explore a new dimension now. It's called Inside Daniel. My phones just fell on the floor, but I'm not going to need them. This is how I communicate now, through gayness. This is the Trews. Subscribe here. We've gone gay. Ah, Daniel, promise me it'll always be like this.
Of course, anytime.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.